What's up, Outsiders? Jim Casey here. We are in beautiful Lynchburg, Tennessee today, home of the best-selling whiskey in the world. We're big fans of whiskey at Outsider, so we are super excited today to be able to sit down with Master Distiller Chris Fletcher. We're going to sample some of his products. We are going to ask him some questions that have been on our mind and hopefully yours, so stick around. We are sitting down at Miss Mary Bobo's in Lynchburg, Tennessee, about to have our fried chicken, some pork roast, fried okra, some apples, some mashed potatoes. Cool thing about this, it was built on top of a spring in the 1820s, renovated in the 1850s, so it's been a staple of Lynchburg for a very long time. It's good stuff. After a short walk to the distillery, we got to meet Master Distiller Chris Fletcher for a behind-the-scenes tour. He took us and showed us the iconic copper pots that they use for stills. He showed us the charcoal filtration process, which makes Jack Daniel's taste like Jack Daniel's. It was an amazing experience to not only get a tour from the Master Distiller, but Chris started out as a tour guide at Jack Daniel's in 2001 before finishing up his degree at Tennessee Tech in chemistry. After working in research and development at Brown-Forman, he came back to Jack Daniel's to be the assistant master distiller. And now he is the master distiller, a title that his grandfather, Frank Bobo, had back in the 60s and 70s. It was an amazing experience getting to tour the distillery with Chris, a behind-the-scenes look at over 150 years of iconic Jack Daniel's. Then we got the opportunity to sit down with the master distiller and talk to him about maintaining the consistency of Old No. 7, as well as some of the innovative things he's got in store for the future. Jack No. 7 has been a part of my life now for 20 years. For you, basically your whole life. Over time, I've delved into the Gentleman Jack and your single barrels and the Sinatra series. But last year, you guys came out with the 10-year, the Jack 10, and it's my favorite product of anything you have ever released. Tell me about just kind of conceptualizing that, you know, years ago when maybe you were the assistant distiller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that was, you know, something that sort of came together gradually as things tend to do in whiskey, especially here at Jack Daniel's. Growing up here in Lynchburg and being around this distillery, you know, almost my whole life, I'm a firm believer in our history and our past. And, you know, you look at this whiskey, this grain bill, and how we make it, our process at 80% corn, 12% malt, 8% rye, you know, that fuels Old No. 7. It's our single barrel select, our barrel strength, you know, and all these great expressions built on that one, you know, recipe, so to speak. So kind of my thought is, you know, Mr. Jack and his team got it right, you know, and obviously you can't argue with the success of that. And so in looking into our history, you know, I found these old age statements when Jack was still alive. And so, you know, he had a 10, a 12, a 14, an 18, and a 21. The thought was, if we don't, you know, start seeing how we could push it, we'll never know if we could get it back to there, right? Obviously, it must be a pretty doggone good way to get it there if Mr. Jack thought it was worthy of putting his name on the bottle. And so that is really a nod to the past and of our history. And so then at that point, it became, how do we make the best 10-year whiskey we can? And we started going in and looking at single barrel lots. They're, you know, between 5 and 7 years old typically. Started holding some back, and every year we'd hold more back, and we would look at them. And then we made the decision to move a lot of them around. It's something that we don't do very often, but we really felt like getting single barrel being only top floor whiskey. We felt like, you know, 10, maybe more years, we don't want to leave it up there on that top floor. Long story short, we're looking at about 2 or 3 different batches of barrels for this release that we did last year, 10-year-old. And, you know, we started in fact, this time last year, we were narrowing in on these actual barrels that would become the first 10-year-old age statement here since Mr. Jack was alive. And so, you know, just saying that out loud, to be able to do something for the first time here since Jack Daniel did it, I mean, that's just so special. It really is.
So can we expect another release of the 10-year in 2022?
Absolutely. We're working on it. We are working on it as we speak. And I think you're also going to see other future age stated expressions.
Give me a little tease, because I'm hearing a rumor about a 12-year. What can you tell us, you know, in generalities in that sense?
Yes, we are working on it. Absolutely. 100%. I would love to be able to sit here and tell you we're going to recreate the age-stated series that Mr. Jack himself made. That would certainly be an ultimate goal for me. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that it's right. We're doing it the right way, and we are prepared to put in the work to try to get it there. Because I think that collection of whiskeys and that representation of our whiskey from Lynchburg, now, and especially in this current environment of American whiskey, I think people would just be so excited to try and see different expressions of Jack Daniels, and things with different proofs, and different ages and different flavor profiles that we can create. Again, that gets into the fun innovation part, the more of the art, so to speak, and it's exciting.
Every job has live in the moment aspects, but a big part of your job is kind of looking to the future. When you look at where you are right now, and let's say 10 years into the future, where are you going to take Jack?
Well, that's a big question. I think it's important to listen to the people that love our brand, our friends around the world. And I've been able to travel the world, back, obviously pre-pandemic. And we have friends, through Jack Daniels, in every continent. And we know and keep in touch with them. And you think about the connection that we've made just because we work for this great whiskey brand. So I think, what that whiskey consumer wants and would find interesting, I'm the same way. I'm a whiskey consumer as well. And so, where that kind of inspiration or that thought process, it may be an idea that I come up with, it may be an idea that Lexi comes up with, our assistant distiller. But I think, we kind of answer two questions. Number one, is this right for what Jack Daniel would do? And for me, well, it's a lot. Would my grandfather be proud of this as well? I'm not gonna lie. But on the flip side, it's that American whiskey consumer now. And it's probably the best time in the history of American whiskey right now. And I know, post-Prohibition was a really hot time as well. I just cannot imagine that it was any better with the growth and the expansion that we're seeing across the industry. It's amazing.
Yeah, you mentioned a minute ago, Jack put out a 18-year stated whiskey, years ago. Could you see something like that in your future?
Absolutely. I would hope so.
Well, I hope so too.
That's not a promise. That's a hope. So let's just be clear. I'm not guaranteeing anything.
I think now we're going to do a little tasting, aren't we?
Let's do it.
You take us through it?
I think it's time to taste.
All right. That is one of the finest sipping whiskeys that you'll ever have. And the price point is just amazing to me. So I can't wait for the next 10 year to come out, which you already told us it's coming. Outsiders, what an amazing experience we had today. Chris took us around. He showed us the property, showed us the springs, the distillery, and we got to sit down with him and taste 4 of his best products. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ashley, for setting this up. Outsiders, if you enjoyed this half as much as we did our job. So thanks for watching.